I wouldn't share this story. Some of what I'm about to say now, I wouldn't share it with any other group. But since you've just shared what you've shared, I feel pretty comfortable.
Enoch, I would say, is a very joyful, happy man. When he came out of the white light and I met him for the first time, he had the warmest face. He looked like John Paul Jackson, the prophet who's now with the Lord. And he was shining and beautiful, and his warmth of his character penetrated me. And I was shocked and in awe, and I didn't say anything at the time, but he said, "My name's Enoch." And I just saw the love in his face and the joy. So I'd say he's a beautiful, happy, brilliant, beyond human being. Now, I'll say at the start, when you see them like that, that's them coming in a form you can interact with. Their highest forms can't exist even in this universe because they're beyond it. So when a saint is interacting with you, like the Lord, they clothe themselves in humility and take on a lower form to engage you, because the glory that they're walking in is too much even for the space you're in. If they appeared as they really are, it would melt the earth, honestly. I know that sounds exaggerated, it's not. There are higher dimensional realms of glory that aren't meant for this universe.
You may have heard me share this, but I met Neville Johnson, and I'm sitting directly across the table from Neville. And out of my mouth, to this day, it had to be inspired. I just said, "Neville, who do you think built the Pyramid of Giza?" And he looked at me really strange and he says, "Who do you think built the Pyramid of Giza?" And I said, "Enoch built the Pyramid of Giza." And he literally fell back in his chair. And he said, "My wife made me promise not to tell anyone, but I just had an experience where the Lord took me back in time, and I watched Enoch building with 100 of his spiritual sons the Pyramid of Giza." Neville and I discussed that, and he said, "I watched, Enoch building it. He had harnessed the power of sound to move the stones. He had harnessed the power of light to cut the stones. Technology beyond what we know right now." He said there are prophecies of Enoch still inside the pyramid.
Wow.
That we will access before the Lord returns.
Now, when I met Enoch, he showed me the future acts of mankind. He opened up like that, and there was a massive area with these stone tables with books, scrolls, and angels and people. And he pointed like that, and he said, "These are the future acts of mankind. And in the beginning, I understood them fully." Now, when he said fully, it was like a wave hit me. It was like fully. And I knew, this blew me away, guys. Let this blow you away now. That he is so expanded that he could understand all the acts of mankind throughout the ages. That includes your book and mine. Because he said to me then, "And you're in these books." Now, when he said that, I knew he meant all of us. That this is how expanded you can be. So when I'm talking about Enoch, think this is who you are. He was able to understand all the books of the acts of mankind throughout history fully. Now, when I had this experience, I didn't know that that was actually in the book of Enoch. So when I read the book of Enoch after this encounter, I got quite disturbed with awe, because I read in there this line. Enoch said this, "I looked at these writings and read everything that was written, and in front of me, I understood everything. I read the books of all the deeds of mankind. I remember being in the garden after my encounter with Enoch, reading the book of Enoch, and I came across that bit. And man, even telling you now, I could feel it. I was shocked that Enoch had shown me something in my ascension that was actually in his book, that he understood all the deeds of mankind fully. How did Enoch walk within these realms until he was not? This is what Enoch showed me. So I'm telling you stuff now from direct relationship with him. It started with a small choice to say yes to enjoying God's presence in his life. It started with a small choice that we can all make to enjoy God's presence in your everyday life that now is beautiful, and now the presence is with you. What he showed me was this. He said to Yahweh, and this is the quote of what he said to this, "I'm not doing this life without you." It's where you wake up every day or you fall asleep and you say, "I am not doing life without you, Yahweh." this one thing is enough to open up all the other things, is that you choose to enfold your life in Yahweh. When you're drinking a cup of tea, when you're going for a walk, when you're with your children, when you're reading them a story, when you're on the ocean, when you're doing whatever you're doing, you enfold your life and keep remembering, turning back into the sweetness of love and the sweetness that you are in his presence always, that he will never leave you. He will never forsake you. So Yahweh was his daily pleasure, his daily delight. It says in Genesis 5:24, Enoch walked with God. He didn't stand with God, he walked with God. He walked his way with God, and he lived with God in a generation that was really evil, corrupt, and dark. He didn't let that set the standard for his relationship. Even though Adam and Eve fell out of Eden, he anchored himself. This is what he told me. He anchored himself in God's goodness. He had this profound confidence that the divine being was pure goodness, pure love, that he was for us, not against us, and he loved us. So he began to engage. Now, Enoch walked with God. The late prophet David Wilkinson said this: the original meaning for walked implies that Enoch went up and down, in and out, to and fro, arm in arm with God, continually conversing with him and growing closer to him. In him, we see a new kind of believer. The Lord was his very life, so much so that at the end of his life, he did not see death. I'll quote Tozer on this because Tozer understood this. He said, God wills that we should push into his presence and live our whole life there. This is to be known to us in conscious experience. It is more than a doctrine to be held. It is a life to be enjoyed every moment of every day. The presence of God is the central fact of Christianity. This is enough. Love gives you wings. Love makes you fly. I decided to enjoy God's presence, and he started to send me into these realms. Julian of Norwich called it oneing, where you're oneing with the beloved. He is the source of love. You are the receiver of love. He is sweet. You taste. He is food, and you eat. In you I live. In you I move. In you I have my being. And you start to allow that to enfold you as a new way of living. It will seem strange to other Christians. They won't get it. Don't try and persuade them. This is not about them. It's about you and the Lord. It's about your walk with him, where every day you're enjoying a new existence.